God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is the Nathan Napalm channel, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing, especially if you want Pantheon related content, old school MMORPGs, JRPGs, CRPGs, RPGs, all that kind of thing. And today we're going to be talking about the Enchanter for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Now keep in mind that all of the abilities for the Enchanter have not been released officially, so we're going to be covering everything we know about the Enchanter right now as of the time of this recording, and deep diving on everything that we do know. Now before we begin, I want to give a big shout out to the members of Napalm for keeping this channel alive. Thank you so much, and if you're interested in becoming a member, please click the join button down below. Alright guys, let's begin. Like the current of a raging river is the pull of an enchanter on the mind of their adversaries. Through a single word, the enchanter can turn the intent of an enemy and break even the strongest of wills into submission. Whether through trickery or coercion, the enchanter is adept at controlling the battlefield and forming order out of chaos. Now, they are a group role, which is a support class. Their combat resource is mana, their available armor is cloth and arcane shields, and their available weapons are dagger, club, stave, quarterstaff, and longstaff. Now the races that can play, at least at the time of this recording, the Enchanter is the Dark Mer, Dwarf, Elf, Human, and Gnome. And I do suspect there will be a holy crap ton of Gnome Enchanters running around in Terminus. It does seem like the Gnome has quite a few advantages, in my opinion. Now let's talk a little bit about the abilities that the Enchanter has. Now once again, this is not the full list of abilities, but these will give you a very clear picture, an overview of what the Enchanter is and represents. So first up we have a passive ability which is called Rune Skin. The Enchanter naturally absorbs a percentage of incoming damage up to a limit. Once that limit has been absorbed, Rune Skin will have to recharge for a short duration before passively reactivating at full effect. If not fully depleted, Rune Skin's damage absorption capacity will slowly replenish over time when not taking damage. This is a rechargeable defense mechanism that helps prevent the Enchanter from taking damage. And as we go forward, you're going to see that why in a party, in my opinion, you're going to understand why the Enchanter might pull some of the hate and aggro, and why they might need that defensive Rune Skin in order to survive. And next up we have Rend the Mind. The Enchanter rends an enemy's mind with a burst of mental energy, dealing magic damage and restoring some mana to their group. Now this is going to possibly make the Enchanter a mana battery for wizards and other classes that might need a lot of mana to continue doing their group role and also doing damage. So this is something that I do expect will be used a lot and on a ton of Enchanters hotbars for a very long time, and a very good ability that once again gives a lot of support to the group in the form of restoring mana and also doing damage. Next up we have Fascinate. This is where the Enchanter mesmerizes an enemy, incapacitating them. Any damage will break the effect. So this is going to hold that enemy so that you can focus on others. So when you're in over your head, or you pull basically more than one of a particular mob, then you can mesmerize that enemy, mez them, and then, just nobody needs to attack them. Please, everybody, don't attack the target that is mesmerized. Sometimes I do it, I have to admit. As a tank, I'll be trying to grab aggro, and they didn't call out they were mezzing it, and it happens, right? But let's be careful, guys. When the enemy's mesmerized, let's leave it alone, don't touch it. Let it sit there, because when you do damage, it does break the effect, of course. Now, next up, we have Lyrith's Grace. This is where the Enchanter enchants a target's mind to judge you more amiably, increasing your faction with them to the next rank. So this is something I can see being used in quests in order to get better responses or things that you normally wouldn't be able to say. But also out in battle, sometimes you might be able to go somewhere maybe you couldn't go before, or because they're KOS or kill on sight, and there's all kinds of reasons that this is a really cool ability, just not only for in battle, but also, or to avoid battle, but also to actually maybe just explore some places maybe you couldn't before. So I think that's a very interesting one, and I bet you over time you can probably do quest lines, or who knows how it's going to be laid out, but I bet you can unlock to where you can make that even more powerful so that you can go from a place that's actually kill on sight all the way to they disregard you, you're not a threat, which would be insane and really going to give the Enchanter this really cool support, I mean, for themselves and maybe for other people too, although it does say judge you, the Enchanter. Maybe over time you can do it so that your entire party gets that effect. That would be cool. All right, next up, we have Gavin's Wild Display. This is where the Enchanter releases a surge of frenetic energy, stunning up to 4 enemies around you for a short time. So a stun, not quite as good as a mesmerize, but at the same time, this could really turn the tide of battle, being able to stun up to 4 enemies. So very awesome, and I can see that in a oopsie kind of situation to buy you that little bit of extra time to run for the zone line with the train. And next up we have Isolate. This is where the Enchanter numbs an enemy's senses, reducing their assist radius. Now this is also so good for support because in a lot of times, if you're close enough, it could make other mobs come and assist their friend that you're slaughtering, and this could make them to where they're not going to come assist. Now it just reduces the radius, so if it basically makes it to where they don't have to be as close to come assist their friend who you're beating the crap out of. So very good for support. Next up we have Whisper of Tysayer. This is where the Enchanter floods their group with the Whispers of Tysayer, increasing the rate of mana regeneration. So once again, a mana battery. That's what the Enchanter is, along with many other things, because here we have where they can actually increase the rate of their mana regeneration. Now, since the Enchanter themselves actually uses mana as their combat resource, of course it's good for them as well, but most likely you're going to have some other mana type people, healers, damage dealers, and they're going to be able to regenerate faster as well, so it's less downtime and more pew pew time, which is fantastic. Next up we have the Illusioncraft Rapid Mind. Now this is where the Enchanter grafts an illusion of urgency into an ally's mind, increasing their spell haste. So now, not only do they get regenerated mana, and if the Enchanter is using Rend the Mind, then they're getting some mana restored to the group, but also now they can cast faster. So it's getting pretty freaking awesome to have an Enchanter in your group, right? Next up, we have Shock and Awe. This is where the Enchanter confuses an enemy with bizarre imaginings, causing them to attack another nearby enemy for a short time. Now this will be very handy. I mean, this one of those abilities is going to cause a lot of emergent gameplay in my opinion, because as they're doing this, I mean, they can just wander on and keep going. If they're, by themselves, or the group doesn't want to attack a certain one, there's 2 really high mobs or something dangerous, and they can use this ability in order to make them start attacking each other and then just walk right by them, right? But also, just a normal battle, where you have more than one, and you can have one of the mobs help you defeat the one, and then it's pretty awesome. So next up, we have AMI's Dueling. This is where the Enchanter disenchants the materials in an enemy's weapon to weaken it, reducing its damage potential. So they can kind of dull the effects that the enemy's weapon may have, any enchantments or anything they have on them, they can disenchant them. And so, you're not taking that fire damage from that flaming sword or etc. And also, very awesome, just look at all this support we're getting from the Enchanter, it's insane. Next up, we have the Squeeze Mimicry. This is where the Enchanter disguises themselves in the likeness of a nearby object in the environment. This illusion is quite effective and will fool most enemies, causing them to ignore you. Any movement, though, will break the effect. So if you got a wandering mob and the Enchanter's in the way, they can turn themselves into a rock, a tree, or a bush, or something like that, and fool most enemies, as long as they don't move, right? So very cool there as well. Next up, we have Thought Thief. This is where the Enchanter infiltrates the short-term memory of an enemy and completely erases their hate towards you. So once again, we're doing a lot, we're doing a lot of support here, right, with the Enchanter. So, and also, we're probably going to be blasting them over in the mind to get mana back to the group. So this is one of those things where we can kind of mitigate some of the hate that we're getting for all the things that we're doing as an Enchanter. And plus, don't forget that, we also have that rune skin to help absorb some of the damage as well. And then lastly, we have Illusioncraft. This is where the Enchanter, entrusted with the Enchanter's art of illusion crafting, they are able to discover, learn, and use illusion-based abilities. So illusion-based abilities, in my opinion, are things like when they were able to disguise themselves as the object in the environment. But I believe that since this is on here specifically, it's letting us know that it's going to go far beyond that into things that are discoverable, things that can be learned, and it's specifically worded illusion crafting. So making things, right, out of illusions. So casting illusions, like I would assume things like making a false creature that the enemies will attack, or, you know, I think of Mage Hand from Dungeons and Dragons, things like that. I think is the direction that we can look forward to. So, to put it lightly, the Enchanter is going to be a very requested class to be in almost every party, because they can mez, because they can regenerate mana for the entire party in so many various different ways. And I also have to say that as I'm reading through the Enchanter, I can't help but feel that they're going to be a pretty powerful force to solo with. And I know that Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is a group-focused game, but there are times when even the most die-hard, party-loving Terminus explorers have to solo, or just feel like it. They just want to unwind and kill some mobs and just wander around by themselves and clear their mind after a long day at work, etc. So, and with all these abilities, if you think about it, it does seem as though the Enchanter could pull off a pretty good adventure by themselves if they needed to. Now, of course, in a group role, they're really going to excel, especially with all the support they're giving for mana and magic users, right? Which leads me to believe that if you look at all the different classes, like the different tanks, and you have the ones that are good against magic users, and you have ones that are good against melee users, etc., that we only have one other support role that we're aware of that maybe might come out by release or launch of the game, and that is the Bard. So the Enchanter will be the only full support class, crowd control, etc. Now there are a few random other abilities some classes have, but, you know, focused on it, it will only be the Enchanter. But we do know that they are making the Bard, that Joppa, Chris Perkins, is very sure at this point that he's going to be able to get the Bard out by launch. But it does make me think that the Bard may be more attuned to help with melee classes, since the Enchanter is so good against magic. It's so good with magic users, to support magic users, then the Bard would be more attuned to support melee classes. Now, I could be wrong, but with the way that they're designing the game, it sure does fit with their philosophy to think in that manner. But anyway, the Enchanter is a cool class, and it's going to be played by a lot of people, and everybody's going to want one. So honestly, tanks are going to be a big deal, so you're going to get parties with tanks. Healers are going to be a big deal, obviously, so you're going to get a lot of parties with a healer class. And honestly, the Enchanter, especially if the Bard doesn't make it, is going to be so freaking popular. And even if the Bard is in the game at launch, it's still going to be popular because of all the magic and mana users getting this huge benefit from the Enchanter. And it's my main takeaway on the Enchanter. Obviously, we knew they could crowd control, but man, this mana regeneration really takes them to the next level. And just the thoughts of some of the exploration possible with their abilities really makes me want to roll an Enchanter. And I never, ever, ever play a support class, but man, they're making things so tempting with every class in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. It's one of the reasons I'm so in love with this game, because the classes are just so freaking cool, man. They take everything next level. Everything about this game, Visionary Realms, takes next level. I'm so excited about this game. I'm excited about the Enchanter. I'm not going to main one, but I'm looking forward to some of you that are. Let me know in the comments down below what you're excited about. Are you going to play the Enchanter? Are you going to be a gnome Enchanter like everybody else? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. And thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate your support. And I want to give a big shout out to the members of Napalm for giving me monetary support here on YouTube. Advertisements don't pay crap, and my members are really keeping me afloat. So thank you guys so much, and if you're interested in helping support this channel, please click the join button down below for more information and a list of perks. And until next time, guys, God bless and happy gaming. Please listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. It's a video buffet, you can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe
being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize, but just please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.